Hello and welcome to Forever Box. And with Rassie Erasmus having named his 54-man squad, we have taken a stab at building potential Box teams and kind of creating a 1, 2, 3 and then seeing which are the remaining players. And if you want to know just how good the squad depth is in the squad, there are plenty of World Cup winners in the third team and even a World Cup winner in the remaining players after we name your sort of top 3 potential Springbok teams. Now, it's quite a difficult exercise to do because you kind of have to almost guess where the coaching staff kind of see these players. And, I think if they were to pick their 3 squads, it'd probably look a little bit different. But basically, based on what we've sort of seen in the past for a year or two and in the previous seasons, kind of try to build 3 potential teams, starting with a team where if we were to play in the World Cup final tomorrow, this is potentially how we would line up, and then kind of going from there. Plenty of uncapped players in and amongst these teams. Interesting to see which sort of position maybe as well, which positions kind of sort of eventually sort of jump up with regards to maybe that's where we need to try to sort of focus and find our next possible player. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Let's get going, shall we? Springbok team number 1. Very difficult to sort of pick, but I think certain players sort of pick themselves, and I'll be interested to see where you would potentially change. In the front row, I've got Oxen Chair, Malcolm Marx, Wilco Low. For me, it's probably, I think Vincent has obviously played many games for the Box. I think it might even be 50 caps, for example. Always sort of used a bit of a bench player, but I just think that at the moment, Wilco Low is our tight head. He is our form tight head in the country. He was the best tight head in the URC. Arguably one of the best players in the URC. He has to start if we were to play tomorrow. Ebenezer with Franklin Masters a lock pairing. I don't think too many people are going to argue that one. And Seklisi PSG the toy. Probably Jasper Wiese right now in the number 8 jersey. That very much could change. But at the moment, he's still the number 1 choice. You know, lots of people talking about Cameron Hanekom. You've got a Juarno Augustus now in the squad. So you've got other options here, but at this stage, Jasper Wiese has got the hands on number 8 jersey. It's up to other players to come and try and sort of take it off him. Then the back line, I'm going with Grant Williams. Could be Faf de Klerk, could be Kobus Reinach. I think those sort of our top 3 scrum halves, pretty interchangeable. I was very tempted to put Faf de Klerk in there because he did start the last 2 World Cup finals, except for the fact we didn't see as much of him last season. And I think Grant Williams was probably our best number 9 last year. So that's why I've gone with him there. I've put Sasha in. I think he's our number 1 choice at 10. And I think a lot of what we want to try and do revolves around him. And then I think it's a fairly easy backline after that. Kurt Lawrence, Ches and Colby as your 2 wings. Damien Delende, Jesse Creel as our most experienced centre partnership in history, starting there. And then Damien Willems, so for me, is still our number 1 fullback. Yes, he missed last season. Yes, I believe Fassi were really good. Willems, for me, still just ticks all the boxes. So that's our Springbok team, sort of number 1. Let's look at Springbok team number 2. Now, the front row is quite difficult because, they really rate Jan-Hendrik Wessels and they're giving him lots of playing time, played against Australia and the likes of that. But last year, every single time we played against an Ireland or New Zealand, we saw Gerard Steenekamp on the bench. So he is, I think, at this stage, our number 1 choice or our second choice. As a elusive number 1 choice on the bench, which is quite significant because you're talking about a sort of bomb squad, approach, and I think these 3 players could very well be that kind of bomb squad. That Bongimanambi, Vincent Koch off the bench. So that's kind of what my reasoning is for those two players there, or those 3 players. I then go with Jean-Claude and Archies Neyman. First of all, this was a lock combination before, and I think at this stage, we're not quite sure where Luat Diaga is. Argument for Archies Neyman and Luat Diaga potentially be in this team, but I think Jean Klein, for me, is our best option, after Evan Etzebe that we're going for, so I'm starting number 4. And, that's kind of what I've gone with. I haven't gone with Salman Murat or Kobus Wiese just yet. I do think they're going to stake a claim. And I think that was very frustrated last year. We didn't get to see more of Jean Klein because I think he's a fantastic player, and we haven't been able to see him as much. But, he played in the World Cup final as well. So that kind of shows you how highly he is rated. I then go with Kwagga Smith, Vincent Tshituka, Cameron Hanekom. 1 debutant there in Vincent Tshituka. I do think number 7 is a slight concern for the Box. We tried Ben Jason Dixon there last year. He didn't really live up to the billing. Ulrich Lowe probably still suits number 8, but can play the number 7. Has been a bit better, but I do think we are looking for our sort of next sort of Peter Steph the toy option. And I think Vincent Tshituka has an opportunity at the moment to really put his hand up. I think would he play in would he be our second choice number 7? Maybe not. You might have looked at like a Franco Master playing in the 7 jersey. Jean-Luc Dupré, there's an argument for there. But I think Vincent's done a lot this season to really put himself up the pecking order. And then I've got with Cameron Honeycomb in the number 8 jersey. Could be the number 1 choice as well. Him and Jasper Wiese contending for a jersey for me is what will be one of the highlights of this coming season. I think we'll have to Klerk and Andre Pollard. Plenty of experience there. Lots of people might think Kobus Reinach ahead, but I've backed Faf there. Andre Pollard still very much a number 2 option. I think on Makhaza Mapimpi and Edel van der Merwe as our 2 wings. There's no Kane Moody, and there's good reason for that. And you'll see that in the next team. Andre Esterhuizen and Ntlabakanye as the centre pairing. Apelele Fassi as fullback. I think that pretty much is genuinely our second choice backline. Maybe a toss of a coin between Kane Moody and Edel van der Merwe. Maybe toss the coin between Faf de Klerk and Kobus Reinach. Apart from that, I think it's a pretty settled sort of second choice team. Team number 3. What excites me is that there's some world-class players on this side. And, I personally think between this team and that team, there's not a lot of drop-off, to be perfectly honest. I mean, obviously, certain players here are at a different level. But there are lots of players here who wouldn't. I mean, Makhaza Mapimpi started in a World Cup final. Bongi Manambi started a World Cup final. Vincent Carr. I mean, these are all mostly World Cup winners. And lots of these players played in the finals as well. So then we look at Springbok team number 3. And criminal to think that Vili Leroux, a 2-time World Cups winner, is sitting in the Springbok team number 3. In the front row, I've gone with Jan-Hendrik Wessels at loose here. I've got Marnus van der Merwe at hooker and Thomas du Toit at tight head. I mean, Thomas du Toit is one of the best players in the Premiership and currently sort of gets into our Springbok team number 3. Shows you just how good the Springbok depth is at prop. Look, I think that he could potentially, by the end of this year, we'll look at Volkolo, Thomas du Toit as our sort of 2 main tight heads. Then you've got likes of Asenathi Ntlabakanye, Neethling Fouche in the remaining of the list. I think I'm Salman Murat, Loet de Jager. Very tempted to go with Kobus Wiese ahead of Salman Murat, but we are talking about a player who has not only represented the box, but he's also captained the box so far. So very highly rated by Rassie Erasmus and his coaching staff. I've also gone with Loet de Jager ahead of Juarno here. Might sound a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, if he gets back to anything close to his best, he probably is in that mix there. Then Marco Verstappen, Jean-Luc Dupré, Juarno Augustus was pretty to select of the remaining players. I've gone with Kobus Reinach next to Mani Libbok as our sort of halfback pairing there. Ntokozo, Makhaza, Quinhorn, and Vili Leroux as the back 3. I've gone with Vili Leroux at fullback, Quinhorn in the wing. And then the reason I was quite easy to put Edel van der Merwe in team number 2 is that I've gone with Kane Moody as our 3rd outside centre because he has played outside centre for the box. And I'll put him next to Ethan Hooker at inside centre, who I think is at the moment is our 3rd choice inside centre, and even an option on the wing as well. That is not a bad team. I think that team could beat the likes of a Portugal or Georgia, for example. I don't think that team's going to go beat Italy. That team might even beat Wales, to be honest, the way Wales are playing at the moment. There's some serious talent in that side as well. And then you've got these sort of players floating as kind of your remaining players. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Asenathi Ntlabakanye, Neethling Fouche, Marnus van der Merwe shouldn't be there. Not sure how he's managed to creep into there. Ruan Okia, Kobus Wiese, Renzo du Plessis, Jaden Henderson, Morne van den Berg, and Jordan Hendrickse. So, as I said, a World Cup winner in the likes of Jaden Hendrickse. So there is still plenty of talent in the mix, the extra or non-used players so far. So it's really exciting to see just how good our depth is and just how many talented players we've got, because those players, lots of those players, I think, will get in international squads. I mean, I think somebody like an Asenathi Ntlabakanye, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, I think they would get into lots of tier 1 squads. I think that, a team like, let's say, you need a bit of work in the scrum. I think a team like Scotland, for example, I think somebody like Asenathi Ntlabakanye would get into a Scottish side. I think Jan-Hendrik Wessels would get into that Scotland side. Not necessarily ahead of Piers Koeman, but could definitely sort of push players on the bench. And that's the exciting thing. We're talking about our 4th choice props, potentially being 1st or even 2nd choice props in other nations. They would both start for like a Japan. They'd arguably probably start for Italy, to be perfectly honest. So that's what's so exciting about the Springbok depth at the moment. What do you think? Let me know. What changes to make across these teams? Maybe make your own teams. Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.